Hey everyone, welcome back to KC3D Sparks. Today we're going to be creating a little pine tree. So obviously you can change this up, different sizes and whatnot for some good tree markers and stuff like that for your tabletop campaign. But because it's Christmas time, we're also going to, at the end, show you how to be able to add some decorations and maybe make it a pretty Christmas tree in case if you're doing a Christmas themed campaign coming up. So first things first, of course, I like to go into my little scenes tab, change the unit to inches, and then from that go to display and change the scale of my grid 4 to 1/4 of an inch. We aren't going to start with this default cube here, so you can just hit X to delete that and enter, Shift A, and we're going to go to mesh and circle. Now it starts off with 32 vertices. We're going to go ahead and crank that down to 24. Obviously that's kind of personal choice of what you want to do, but I found it giving me a nice shape with 24 vertices, so I'm gonna do that. Radius 3 inches is a little large, but I'm just gonna worry about sizing everything afterward, or of course you could go ahead and just knock this down to like an inch for now, since it's definitely way too large, but that's still 2 inches. Anyway, let's go ahead and tab into edit mode. I'm just going to hit the N key to get rid of that menu because we don't need it. And I'm going to go into front view. We're going to make sure we're on our vertex select mode here. And I'm going to hit E to extrude while I have everything selected. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit S, and we're going to size that in to maybe about there. That's probably still a little large. This part's going to be the trunk of the tree. So maybe let's do around half. So we're going to fit it in between these two squares. E to extrude again, and we're just going to pull that down to however long you want your tree trunk. I don't know, I'm just going to leave it about there, and then maybe size it out a little bit, give it a little bit of an angle. You could always do a little bit more dramatic. To create the bottom, we'll do E to extrude again, and then do Alt M at center, and that'll face that off for us. Go ahead and Alt right click this loop here. I'm going to go back into front view. I'm going to scroll out so I can see. We're going to hit E to extrude and just pull that up to maybe about there. Size that in just like that. I'm not going to worry about tapering it off quite yet. We're just going to leave that open. Now from there, we're going to do Control R and maybe scroll up to about 4 or whatever you think's best. I think I'm going to do 4. So I just hit escape once you place it, so that way it goes right in the center. But you will want it to get a little bit larger at the bottom, but we'll worry about sizing a little bit after. What we'll do first is do Control R and do this top one here. Bring it close to here, and we're just gonna size that out. And then bring that down to kind of meet where that loop was. Do Control R again and kind of do the same thing. Make it a little larger. Size that out. And actually, we don't really need that one. We can just size that one, actually. It's starting to look okay, but what we need to do is I'm going to go into wireframe view with the Z, A to deselect everything, border select, bring that up a little bit, and just kind of reposition where my lines are to make it kind of look a little bit more uniform. Maybe something like that. Obviously, you can go ahead and do any kind of pattern with this. You could add more or less, however you want your original shape to be. So once we get that going, we can go ahead and grab, I'm going to go into top view and basically do every other vertice on the bottom ring. Just like that. But then going up the loops, we'll go ahead and do every other as well. So you'll want to make sure you alternate to, or select the vertices that you want for your desired effect. And you will want to go ahead and do the same ones that are on here. So we'll go ahead and select these ones as well, so we get the whole edge. And if you wanted, you could probably do that for each one, do the edge instead of the vertice, but I'm just going to do the vertices for those. So what I'm going to do is go into front view, and with all these still selected, I'm just going to hit S, but you'll notice that's not quite what I want. I want to do S, Shift Z, so that way it just pulls inward. And maybe about there. I think that looks pretty good. We just want to make sure it's not too close. No, we still have a good amount of space there, so that should be okay. And now what I want to do is go over to our little wrench modifier tab and do subdivision surface, and I might do 2 or 3, we'll have to see. From there though, what I'm gonna do is add a loop here, draw that down a little bit, and this will kind of help with each layer too. So let me also grab this loop here and sharpen that, because we don't want that like that. So I'll grab this loop, Shift E, to kind of make sure our layers stay separate and look like it is coming out and over each branch. So do like that, and then go back down here, Control R, and you'll see why I'm also doing this for another reason in a second. So do Control R, maybe bring it out a little bit. You know, you can give it a little bit of variation. Down, Control R, bring it out, and maybe down a little bit. Now from there, what I want to do, and I'll probably do this individually, but go ahead and grab each one of these vertices, not the whole loop, just the one that is at the tip of the branch. So I'll go into top view, or I'm sorry, front view. I'm just going to drag that down and then hit S to size out. And then what I could also do is grab these again and maybe size them out even further to make it a little bit more dramatic. And you could maybe not select all of them to start giving your tree some more variations. I don't know if I like that actually. I might leave that. You might also want to do is grab each of these edges, and you could also sharpen them. And I mean, trees are, you know, not exact, so you could always, oh yeah, that looks kind of good. Let's see how that looks. Maybe not full on sharp, maybe do more like that. Okay, so let me just go through and do that to the rest of these real quick. So a lot of this is pretty repetitive. You probably could, if you wanted to, do a mirror modifier, so you only had to do a quarter of this, but that's personal preference, whatever you feel like doing. You can even bring it out further to make it more of a flare. I think I like that a little bit better. It's a bit more dramatic. Okay, so we're getting our default shape pretty good. I went ahead and sized those back in to try and make it match back up a little bit more, but like I said, you do you have fun with it. I'm gonna go ahead and add a loop here. Actually, probably shouldn't do that. Should just go ahead and sharpen that, and that'll work out for us. And then basically all we really need to do is go in, there's a couple options essentially. You could take the shape, go into sculpt mode, add in more details, some more variations, that kind of thing, but that's up to you if you wanted to venture into sculpt mode, or you could just keep working in edit mode, add some variations there, maybe make some branches longer, make it look more organic like an actual tree would. Or if you wanted it to be exact, you can just leave it as is whenever you're done and go up here. You'll grab this loop, so just alt right click, you can hit E to extrude, bring that up, size it in, and do E to extrude to alt M at center. Maybe bring that up a little bit, and that'll taper that off for you. So there is your basic tree. If you wanted to do a stand, you could, if you didn't want to glue it onto a stand, that is, instead of sharpening this, or you could leave that sharpened, you can just do Control R, grab this ring of faces, hit E to extrude, just hit escape so it stays there, S, Shift Z, and then just pull that out to however you want it to look. Grab that ring, if you can see it, do Shift E to make that sharpen back up. If you wanted it to be more curved, so it looks like it's on a mound or a hill or something, you could bring that up. Total personal preference of how you want your platform to look. And actually that might be a little too thin. You might want to thicken that up a little bit, but I'm not going to do mine with a platform, so I'm just going to go ahead and undo that. Okay, so a couple different little options for you there. Now, if you wanted to change this up so that way you have multiple different versions, all you have to do is you can duplicate it. Maybe let's say you want a shorter one, just shrink it down via that Z axis. Shift D again if you wanted to do a little bit wider, maybe a little taller too. Totally up to you. I mean, obviously you'll have to pay attention to the size and what your printer can actually handle. So, you know, just little things to keep in mind, but don't be scared to just take your base tree and change the size of it and see how it looks. Fun things like that. So next thing you probably are wondering is how to change this into a Christmas tree. Pretty simple, right? Like what we're gonna do is do Shift A and we're gonna do a circle for the star. Go up here to vertices, change that to 10. And then I'm gonna go into top view and you just pull this back here. Tab into edit mode, and we're just gonna go ahead and grab every other vertice and size that in until you get your desired star shape. I think about there, looks good. I'm gonna select everything. And we're gonna hit E to extrude. Maybe about there, or it's gonna be sized down a lot, so I'll make it extra thick so that way when we size it down it'll still be enough to print. And then all we have to do is hit E to extrude again, hit escape, Alt M at center, do the same up here, Alt M at center, grab those two vertices and then you can size them out to your desired thickness, and then you have a nice star shape. So I'll go back into side view. Whoops. I'm going to put the geometry back to its origin. Oh, it's upside down now, so we'll have to do rotate. There we go. So that way our star is an upside down, and then we'll also do rotate 90. So we'll go into our front view. Go ahead and move that to fit your tree. So I'm just gonna do the first one that we made. It's a little large, so we'll go ahead and size that down. And you could either just place that directly in the tree. If you wanted, you could go back into edit mode, make it look like it has a little stand or something like that. Again, that's just total personal preference. Actually, that's lined up really well. Might bring it up a little bit, but you want to make sure if you do Boolean it together, you'll want to make sure it has enough to stick. So I'll probably stick that back down a little bit, just like that. That looks pretty good. Now for some other decorations, very easy. You could do the UV spheres. and just size them everywhere. And let's see, size it down and just nestle them into the branches. Do there. So have fun with that. You could make them different sizes, other things, vary them up, and then when you go to paint it, make it different colors. But you could also do Shift A. Let's do a cylinder. I'm gonna go to side view and just pull this out this way. Do S, Shift Z to skinny that up a little bit. Tab into edit mode, add a loop here to kind of keep this form. Grab this loop and start to rotate it a little bit. E to extrude, rotate a little bit more. Bring it down. Like that, and then we can go into our subdivision surface, make sure it looks good. And I'm doing that so that way it still has a nice curve on the end. Not that it might not even matter since it's going to be so small once it's printed. Do that. Grab that. You could hang some candy canes on there for some easy Christmas tree decorations. Let's rotate that. Place that like it's hanging on this branch. There. So have some fun with it. I'm gonna go ahead, decorate my tree a little bit, and I'll be right back. All right, so maybe you'll want something pretty simplistic like this. Obviously you could make plenty of other decorations. I just wanted to show 3 different little types that were pretty easy. So star took like what, 2 seconds, and then the spheres are super simple. So once you're happy, you can just boolean everything together and print out your Christmas trees, or just stick with your nice plain trees for your regular any season campaign. So let me know what you guys thought about this video. I wanted it to be a little bit quicker since last week's was pretty long. So next week will be one more Christmas theme before we start getting into some dungeon scenery and actual tiles and walls. So hopefully you're looking forward to making some more dungeon-esque type D&D scenery, but let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if you have any requests, especially for any type of dungeon walls or tiles. Other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you have a great Christmas, and I'll see you guys next week.